That's my sister.
That's your brother, silly. You're a sister.
我最喜欢的颜色是紫色。
I like taekwondo. I am born to be a leader. We're twins.
My favorite color is dark blue.
I like to carry the torch for Special Olympics.
I am just like you. I'm just like you. I'm just like you.
我和你一样。
We're just like you.
我是西公木团。
I'm just like you.
I am just like you. We are just like you.
所以跟我读。
I'm just like you.
I'm just like you.
I am just like
You.
I'm just like you. I like art. My favorite song is Michael Jackson.
I make jewelry. I made this bracelet.
I like to read, eat, and sleep.
Mi piace la scuola, un pochino della scuola.
I like to sing Smooth Criminal with Billie Jean. I like ice cream. I like tacos.
Hi, I'm Molly Korte, founder of Project Just Like You. I began Project Just Like You after my son Jacob was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder in the summer of 2016. Later on that fall, I began sharing stories because I felt that the more we talk about people as just being human beings, you break past those stigmas, those barriers, and you see a human being. And that is the foundation and the purpose and the reason of Project Just Like You. I am so glad that you're able to join us tonight. We are glad that you're here. We want you to share your story. So if you have a story to share with us, please email projectjustlikeYou@gmail.com, or you can go to our website and fill out a form, and we'd love to feature you and share your story. Today is Movement Monday. This is an initiative, 2018 initiative of Project Just Like You. Our goal here is to introduce you to people that we feel are making a difference in the disability world, or as we say, differently abled, people who support and advocate for inclusion, and anyone we think that you might find interesting as champions of people with special needs or disabilities. If there's someone you would like to see on our show, please, again, email us. We'd love to hear who you would love to interact with and talk with. We do this each Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Movement Mondays are produced by Fiat Media, so we want to give them a huge shout out and a thank you. They make this possible. You can check them out on Facebook at Fiat Ministry, or you can find them on our webpage, which is fiatministrynetwork.tv. That's fiatministrynetwork.tv. I hope you'll take a moment to click the share button and let your friends know what you're watching. Tonight, one lucky person who contributes a relevant question or comment during our live interview will win a self-published book of our guest tonight, Holly Hovey Murray. This is her book that she wrote, and we are so excited to have her on. Holly Hovey Murray is a disability advocate. She's a speaker and author of the self-published book Overcoming Expectations. This book is about her experiences as a young woman on the autism spectrum, and she's incredibly brave, and she's just an amazing woman. She is currently a third-year law student at William & Mary School of Law and president of the 1 in 68 Foundation, a Richmond-based 501c3, which works to provide college preparatory resources for high school students on the autism spectrum. At William & Mary, she was president of the Children's Advocacy Law Society, a leadership fellow, and a member of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Team. She currently holds the title of Miss Historic Hanover and competed at the Miss Virginia 2018 pageant, where she won the Empowered Women Scholarship. She uses her platform as Miss Historic Hanover to speak to groups across the Commonwealth about the importance of creating a more inclusive and accepting world for students on the autism spectrum. Welcome, Holly. How are you? Holly. Yes. And I said it over and over again. I apologize.
It happens all the time. Don't worry about it.
It's a beautiful name. And all right. So bear with me. Earlier this year, I was fortunate to hear you speak at the annual Commonwealth Autism Conference in Richmond, Virginia, back in April. That's where I learned about your 1 in 68 Foundation. Can you please tell us in your own words what your organization does?
1 in 68 is all about teaching our communities and helping students on the autism spectrum to live up to their full potential and to be able to pursue higher education. So what I really saw in my work as a local title holder in the Miss America organization, as a speaker, as an author, was that students didn't know what to do after high school and families didn't know what to do after high school. So what we try to do is provide programming. We actually have an SAT program with the University of Richmond where students can take the SAT and have classes and have people who will talk to them about test coping strategies. We also are trying to look at other partnerships with testing agencies, and we have collegiate chapters. We have a chapter at Liberty University where they do programming to help students on the autism spectrum connect with the college community as a whole. Another thing that we're really trying to do is do a college workshop for families and students, and more information about that will be coming out soon, but a way for them to kind of get connected to the resources they need when looking at where to apply for colleges, because so many families are in the dark about what that entails, what colleges might have good programming, because oftentimes students with autism, it's, oh, don't look at colleges, four-year colleges aren't an option for you.
Mm-hmm.
And by saying that to these students, in many cases who are remarkably talented, remarkably gifted, have so many things to bring to the table, we're isolating a huge part of our population's workforce that can contribute so much to our society. And whether it's a four-year college or a technical program, we want these students to be able to go out there to have a career that they're passionate about, that they love, and where they can contribute to making their communities, this country, a better place.
Mm. Holly, was that something that you experienced in your life?
Oh,
what you were
definitely.
talking about?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where this passion came from. When I was a little girl, I was put in remedial reading classes, and I'd always been a very voracious reader. And they didn't take me out of the remedial reading class until I surpassed most of my peers, even though I'd been at the school a half year, in terms of how many AR books I'd read and how advanced those were. And I really had to go above and beyond to prove myself and my academic abilities. I remember in middle school, I camped outside of my counselor's door until she would let me take an advanced history class. And that was the subject I always excelled at. Mm-hmm. So even when I was performing well academically, it was still harder to convince people of what I could do. And going to college, I ended up at Southern Methodist University down in Dallas. And people told me, no, you have autism. You have to stay close to home. You have to look at colleges that are close to your family in case you need help. And well, I think it's important for students to find ways to get support and to find areas where they can have that support system in college, just like any other kid. We shouldn't be holding these students back based on that one little word that they have autism.
So you were told that you should stay near home because...
I was told I should stay near home, and that's when people started to tell me I could actually go to college. For a long time it was, well, your daughter, to my parents at least, in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade, your daughter should look at whether she needs to stay in school longer and get help and get a modified diploma. And I was a kid who was doing well on standardized tests. I was a kid who was pretty successful in school.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, this isn't right. I can go to college. I can have the career I want, because I knew even then I wanted to be an attorney. And having people continuously tell you that, it's hard, especially when you're a student, when you're in middle school, when you're in high school, when you're dealing with self-confidence, and when you're dealing with relating to peers, and when you're on the autism spectrum, that's just amplified.
Absolutely.
And so we want to be a resource for those students and those parents in a time when they might not even know, how do I start to think about college? Because the sad reality of our society is that people start thinking about college not now in the 12th grade, but in the 10th, 11th, even 9th grades. So we want to be there to help make sure that these students not only have the life skills they need, not only have their diploma from high school, but have a clear way of being able to succeed in college.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's really sad. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, please keep talking.
It's really, really sad to see that there's so many bright kids with autism who do go to college and who end up not successfully completing it within 6 years. A new study shows that 38% of students with autism successfully complete college in 6 years, because they don't have the supports and because they don't know what to expect when they get to college, and they don't know what life skills they need. They don't know what they have to be able to complete in college. So that's where we kind of come in, and we try to help do programming that will help them not only get into college, not only be able to do those standardized tests, those applications, but also to succeed when they're there.
That's wonderful. So your organization, 168, how many students have you guys helped up to this point since you started it?
We have only been around for less than a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we're just starting with our programming, and we're just starting with everything. We've done one SAT course at the University of Richmond, and as a part of our outreach, we've done workshops for groups like the Richmond Autism Integration Network. I've spoken to some students there. We did a healthy living life skills workshop there, and we've looked at community partnerships. I actually spoke to some students at the Faison School's summer pre-college program. So we're really working on reaching out to the community in any way possible.
Excellent. Great. Hallie, we're going to take 1 second. We're going to take 1 second, and I'm going to welcome some people who joined us.
Okay.
We want to welcome Rob, Kelly, Reagan, Brian, the Autism Checklist, and we have a question for you. Kelly asks, where does your inspiration come from? Thanks, Kelly.
You know, for me, both my grandmother has served as a very big sense of inspiration. She always pushed me to be my best. She's always believed in me, and she's always really fought for me. And so her tenacity and hearing what she's been through in her life has helped me to learn to have that fighting spirit as well. My faith also plays a really big role in it. I'm a big believer that God has a really important plan for all of us. And for me, that's what really drives me. The fact that I was created the way I was for a very important reason, and that I have the ability to use that to do some real good. The things that I've had to deal with, those just help me to want to make that a whole lot easier for the people who are coming after me, for the other young women who are on the autism spectrum who might have some of the same issues.
You know, as a mom with a son who is on the spectrum, watching and talking with you gives me so much hope and so much inspiration, that everything's going to be okay. I don't, you have this gift about you, and it's very inspiring. And I know that I'm not the only parent out there who's thinking, gosh, this is wonderful, to see where you've taken your life and to see the direction you're going and how you are using your life and you're using the disability to reach out and to not only build inclusion with that, but to say you're okay and everything's going to be okay. And I love that. I love your message, and I love your positive vibes that you send out, not only just to our community, but to families around the world. And I just want to thank you for that, because you're quite a remarkable young lady.
Thank you so much. The exact same thing about everything that you all are doing. But, you know, I really believe that when we have an opportunity to use our voice to make a real difference, because if we're not going to speak out, who is? And at the end of the day, if you have that chance, and for me, it was this moment in a sorority house where a girl said, "Oh, I bet that girl has autism. She's so awkward." That single thing in my life really inspired me. You know, I have to do something to change this perception, because I can't walk around pretending that everything about me has always been normal and great and try to put on this shell of perfection when this has been a struggle for me. And how dare I not speak out and try to help people who are going through that? How dare I not speak out against people trying to belittle people who are going through that? And it's a really sad fact about our society that we do that to people with disabilities, and that we stigmatize people with disabilities.
Absolutely. Well, it's remarkable. It really is. And you have a very powerful statement. Your life is a testimony to that. We have some questions for you.
Okay.
All right. Rob asks, what role has social emotional learning had in your life and in your advocacy? That's a great question, Rob.
That is really good. You know, I had a period of time, especially when I was younger, when it was very hard for me to regulate those harder emotions. Like, I think for a lot of young people, but for me, it was definitely amplified. And so I really had to find ways of coping. And one of the best things that really helped me to be able to interact in situations, even when I felt really upset or really angry, or at a point when I just wanted to go knock a wall, I took theater classes. And that was a way for me to kind of channel those emotions. And it also taught me how to speak, which is always important for every child. So having those in my life. Now I work out whenever I'm stressed. I use going to the gym as a way to kind of get those endorphins out. And, you know, it is hard when you're when you're vocal about autism, because it does come up in conversations and people are curious about it. And not in a bad way, but it makes people don't know what to think of it all the time, because there's so little exposure to what autism really looks like and what autism really is. And that's why I hope by using my voice, I can kind of help to create that conversation and to make that a more positive statement.
Awesome. That's wonderful. We have another question for you. The Autism Checklist asks, what kind of work does your foundation do?
We do college prep work, and we really focus on helping students with autism get into college and be successful when they're in college, because we believe that so many students who are bright, who are talented, who have so much to offer our country, our society, are being left on the side because of that one little word, autism. So what we do is we try to help them learn the social skills, learn the life skills, have the application, the testing skills they need to both get into a college successfully, that will be good for them and to be able to complete college. And we also are working on programming to help guide families in what might be the right direction for their student.
Excellent. One of the things that you promote is empowering both students with disabilities and women. This has been a strong platform for you. Can you tell us your journey of how, and you talked a little bit about this, but can you tell us your journey of both these roles, what that's been like for you, and what you have overcome in your own life?
For me, the biggest thing to overcome was that fear that autism would be the sole thing that defined me. So kind of taking that fear and using that fear to propel me to not be afraid of that, not be afraid of embracing that as part of the identity God gave me, but instead using it to use my voice to make a real change. Because 1 in 59 people now are on the autism spectrum in our country.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't make them any less worthy, any less valuable, or any less important than anyone else. And I truly believe that that number is higher, especially among women. You know, I was misdiagnosed for so many years, and I think that period from around 9 to 12 was one of the hardest in my life, because I was being misdiagnosed. I was in and out of the hospital. I wasn't in school for a while because I was being treated and people didn't know what I needed help with, what was wrong with me. And I talk about it a little bit in my book, but learning to get past that and learning to use that experience to fuel me, to drive me to do better, and to drive me to be a voice for others, to make sure that other people don't have to go through that. And
Awesome.
I think it's, especially as women, we have to use our voices and we have to speak out about the things that are affecting us and are affecting our communities. And when you have something that's painful and that's holding you back, instead of letting people use that to make you feel less worthy, remember for me at least, it was remembering my worth in God and the worth that He gave me.
That's beautiful. I love that. And so your faith led you through some of those harder times.
It really did. It really did.
Fantastic. Kelly asks, we have another question. What's your best advice to parents who are losing hope and wearing thin? Thanks, Kelly.
I think the best thing is to find a real support community of people who are in the same kind of situation. And my parents didn't have that. And it was very difficult for them, because parents who don't have a student with disabilities, or even parents who don't have a student who might be going through the same kind of circumstances, they can find it hard to emphasize, because it is one of the hardest jobs in the world. My mom wasn't able to work for a long time when I was a kid because of it. Mm-hmm. And her sacrifice to me is one of the most incredible things, and it's one of the most inspirational things. But she didn't have anyone else to really share that with, outside of maybe 1 or 2 close friends. So if you can find a support system, people who uplift you, people who can kind of understand what you're going through, that has been, in what I've seen for families, one of the most important things.
Excellent. Did your mom, does she have a system, like, does she have a support system today, Holly?
She does, yes. My dad was a great partner for her, and I think the fact that they were such a good partnership was what allowed them to get through it. And the fact that my grandmother was there, the 4 of us were a very tight-knit family. But she didn't have an outside support system. And now she's able to kind of, now that I'm very vocal about it, she's able to talk about some of the things from when I was younger more. But no, it was hard for her, and it's unfortunate that there aren't as many supports for families.
When you were younger, were you in a mainstream classroom, or were you in a self-contained classroom? Like, what was that like for you?
My schooling as a younger child was very non-traditional.
Okay.
I was in kindergarten, and then part of the first grade when I wasn't suspended. And this is so funny to talk about, because now I'm one of the good kids. I'm in law school.
Right.
While in college, I was a student athlete. But First grade, I was suspended a lot. Second grade, I was asked to leave mid-year. I was not expelled. They agreed to not expel me.
Oh no! What a journey.
Then third grade, I tried a different school. My parents tried so many different schools, and none quite worked because so few schools, even public schools, private schools, they're not equipped to handle students with disabilities. Even students who might be able to perform the work in a regular classroom. And so third grade, I lasted about a fourth of a year, and then I left that school.
Wow.
And I was homeschooled.
Okay.
For the fourth grade for about half of the year, and then I went to school at the Virginia Treatment Center for Children, which is a wonderful program for students who might be struggling, but which provides more of the treatment of mental health care, of working with kids on getting emotionally ready, on getting those life skills and so the education was lacking for a while. And I really took tenacity and hard work to be able to play catch up when I finally entered fifth grade mid-year.
That's amazing. So you worked double hard, it sounds like. And then went full steam ahead.
And it's crazy to think about, I missed about 3 years of school. In elementary school. And it's kind of weird to think about, but I did not have a lot of elementary school.
What was it? What was the dynamics then that was going on there?
I was trying to figure out what was going on. Autism then wasn't known as it is now. And even still, women are often misdiagnosed because girls with autism are usually more verbal. Girls with autism are usually more social, and it presents itself so differently. So I was misdiagnosed for a while, and finally when they figured out that I was on the autism spectrum, everything just started to click into place. I was able to start in a mainstream environment. I was in some modified classrooms at first, but eventually I was able to move past having helpers in school, having modified classrooms, and move into a really mainstream environment, which was very beneficial for me. And I think I wish more schools would do that with students, would work to make them able to a point where they are able to move into a mainstream environment and are able to do classwork on their own, to give them those skills instead of trying to keep aiding them. Because ultimately when they enter the workforce, they're not going to have an aid. And that's the sad and scary reality of it. And that's why the work we do at 1 in 68 to equip those students to have management skills, have organizational skills by the time they reach college is so important.
Absolutely. And now in your life, you are in law school.
Yes.
And you are, so tell us about that. How is, put us up to speed of where you are now.
I'm in my third year of law school. So I'm working with the 1 in 68 Foundation. I do speeches as well. So I'm a very busy person.
Right.
You don't think you're busy until you realize, oh my gosh, I'm also preparing to compete in locals for the Miss Virginia organization again. So that takes up a lot of time.
Good for you.
My friends, I make sure I have one social engagement a week to keep me kind of mentally sane and to keep my mental health up. But
good for you.
It is having so many balls in the air and every one of them being as important as the other. To me personally, it's a difficult balance, and it really takes a lot of organization and a lot of time and planning. But to me, it's really worth it because I know that this phase of my life is going to help me when I move on to the next phase of my life.
That's excellent. Good. And so once you finish law school, what are your future plans from there? I'm assuming it involves 1 in 68.
Definitely involves 1 in 68. I don't know. I'm really interested in public service in some capacity. That's important to me, being able to serve my community, being able to help those around me. So I would love to do some kind of public service work. Excellent.
Good. Well, that sounds like you are on that path, and we'll put those law school pro bono work, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm also very interested in domestic violence work. and I'm actually in the domestic violence clinic now at William and Mary, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. So I'd love to do some pro bono work with that maybe, or even work as a prosecutor and work specifically with that, because that's one of those things that touches so many people too.
Absolutely. Put those guys away.
Yeah.
Good for you.
No, it's really sad that we have, and not to get off topic, but it's so
Please
sad.
do. Go ahead.
Laws that don't punish domestic violence to the extent that it should be, because it destroys families and it can destroy communities, and it's just
It does. It destroys lives.
It does.
I mean, people's whole self-esteem, their everything is hanging in this balance because of somebody who sadly doesn't think much about themselves, decides to take it out on them, and it's not right.
No, it is not right.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's not the way that it was meant to be, for sure. All right, we have another question for you. All right, Rob asks, how does your autism strategies help you study and succeed in law school now?
Well, I definitely have to have organization, and I think, for me, I struggled with organization when I was younger, which is why it's so important to teach students on the spectrum. And I've noticed that a lot of students do, because organizational planning is one of the things that people with autism often do struggle with. Learning to do that early, learning to do it well, having a very concrete plan and a very rigid plan even has been so important for me with my career as an advocate, with working on my book, with running the foundation, and most importantly with law school. So having those organizational skills is the key thing for me.
Excellent. The Autism Checklist has another question. They ask, do you like to talk to children about their diagnosis or meet with them in therapy or the classroom? If so, what is your advice to them?
I love to talk to students on the autism spectrum or students with disabilities. To me, that's the best thing that I can do personally, because that's where you're able to make a real difference. And the biggest piece of advice I always give students, remember that you are not defined by your autism. It's just one small part of who you are. You are defined by the things that you give back to the world that you're in and the way that you use your voice to help others.
I love that. You are defined by what you give back to the world and your voice you use to help others.
Yes.
That's so profound. I love that. Awesome. Beautiful. And clearly that's what you're living right now. That's what you're doing.
It's what I try to live.
Yeah, absolutely. Try to live. But that's what you're focusing on.
Yes, that's definitely, when you have the opportunity to do that, there is nothing that feels better, and there is absolutely nothing that you would rather do more. So that's
awesome.
the way I'm trying to live my life right now.
Awesome. How can one get involved with your foundation?
You can email me. I think my email's on the screen. You can also go to our website, www.onein68.org. We have a contact sheet. And if you're interested in getting involved and learning more about our programming, please send us an email. If you're interested in a specific type of programming, or if you're looking for a resource, send us an email and we'll do the best we can to help you out.
Awesome. Oh, we have another question for you. What are 2 or 3 tools that help keep you organized and focused? That's asked by Rob. Asked that.
Having a calendar. The moment that you get something scheduled, put it in your calendar. And before you schedule anything else, look at your calendar. That is the most important thing for me. Carrying one bag and using tabs to keep everything kind of organized. Binders for school, incredibly important. And individual binders for individual classes, because otherwise things do definitely get mixed up. So those are helpful to me.
Excellent. Do you have any events coming up?
We will be doing a workshop on college prep and what to expect with the college applications process, whether or not it's a good idea to look at a 4-year college for families. We don't have a date yet, but we are planning that for later this fall or early winter. We'll also be having another SAT prep class at the University of Richmond sometime in the spring.
Awesome.
So we will post publicly about those events as they become available. We're also looking for students interested in forming collegiate chapters at other universities, because those are going to be so important in helping students on the spectrum, because those chapters are ways for students on the spectrum in a college community to be able to connect with people who are going to be sympathetic, who are going to be willing to help them.
Absolutely. So I'm curious, have you talked to your two schools that you have, so Southern Methodist and to William and Mary?
I am actually trying to reach out to people on the undergraduate campus at William and Mary.
Okay.
It's really hard when you're in the law school because it's so separated.
Sure.
But I have asked some of the undergraduates I know, which is all of 2. People they know that might be interested. So I'm putting feelers out there, and I'm optimistic. I would love to have a chapter at William and Mary. Nothing would make me happier.
I bet.
And as for SMU, I don't know any undergraduates there anymore. I'm an old lady.
Well, then I'm like a great grandma over here.
But I would definitely love to have a chapter there one day, and I would love to take 1 in 68 in our mission nationwide. But I'd like us to we have to get statewide first, but if we could do that, that would be incredible. So awesome. If you know anyone at any college, please give them my contact information. I would love to speak to them.
That's fantastic. Good. Well, I fully believe this is going to continue to pick up momentum, and it's wonderful. And now we're living in this age where we are talking about people going to college who have Down syndrome or who have autism or who have whatever it is, and it's a really exciting time to be alive. It's a really exciting time to be part of this, because I think of my 3-year-old son, and I think he has this bright, beautiful future ahead of him because of people that are paving the way, such as yourself, and people who are, self-advocates and parent advocates who simply just say, we're not going to live this way anymore. We're not going to accept the fact that people who have some type of disability has to be shoved in society, marginalized and shoved away. It's not that way anymore. And it's exciting to watch.
And the sad thing is, when we put people with disabilities in a place where they can't find employment, where it's hard for them to create a career, where we don't teach them the things they need to be able to do that, our country ends up spending more money.
Yes.
Because then those people don't have anywhere else to go. They can't become contributing members of society. So instead of getting this incredible workforce with so much to offer, so much potential, we lose out on that. And it ends up costing money instead of having the potential to make such an amazing impact on the way our world works.
Absolutely.
And we really need to start embracing all the incredible things people with disabilities have to offer. And I hope that more universities will embrace students with disabilities and will work to make college more accessible for them. And that's something that's so concerning when you only have 38% of students graduating who enter with a disability, who are really smart, who are really, really gifted kids. And one of the things I hope to work on is making sure that colleges realize the potential of these students and work to make it more accessible for them.
You're doing a great job. You are. You're doing awesome.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Keep doing it. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Hallie?
Well, if anyone watching is interested, please go to the 1 in 68 page. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear about the things that you need, that people in your family need for looking at colleges. Having people give us feedback and tell us what they're looking for is going to be so helpful for us in providing this early programming. So please, if you're interested, send us an email. We want to be there as a support in the community, so help us to do that. And thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for being on here tonight. It was such a pleasure having you here and just hearing your voice and hear, like, you really are making an impact. And I'm probably getting very emotional. I mean, my emotion is just, you know, just, I know one of the many parents out here that are just looking at you going, this is awesome.
And the sad thing is,
garners hope.
story should not be so unique. You know,
It should not. You're absolutely right. You're
there are
right.
so many
And please don't think I'm trying to single you out here. I'm not, because
But the fact that people haven't seen other people in middle school with autism, that's scary. Because when you think about it, there's so many kids who are so smart out there.
Yes.
So smart, so much to offer the world. Why aren't these kids getting the support they need to succeed? And that's what 1 in 68 is all about. And that's what the advocacy work I try to do is all about.
Absolutely. You're right. And if you look at some of the greats in our history, inventors, philosophers, a lot of these people had autism.
Even, you know, George Washington, who helped to found this great nation, people speculate that he had autism.
I didn't know that one.
Politicians, our greatest leaders, may have been on the spectrum. So why aren't we working to empower these people?
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I think I've heard even whispers that Einstein might have had autism, which I would believe it.
The world would be without him. So we have to keep working, and that's something for parents or for students who might feel that at times it does feel hopeless. You have to keep fighting, because if you don't fight, if you don't use your voice, if you don't speak out, nobody's going to.
Absolutely. And we have a few more questions for you, Hallie. So real quick, the autism checklist asks again, can you please provide a link to the foundation? I think there is it's 1in68.org, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
www.1in68.org.
Awesome. And Reagan asks, how can other states get involved with your organization? Great question, Reagan.
If you want to reach out to me, I would love to talk to anyone interested in expanding. Right now we are, as I said, centered in Richmond, Virginia. But if there's someone in another state who'd like to do an event or who would like to do some form of programming, please reach out to me. I'm always interested in looking at ways that we can spread our message.
Awesome. Well, keep your voice out there. We need you. We need you as a voice and as a leader in the autism community, and as a powerful self-advocate. So we're all very thankful for the work that you continue to do, Hallie, and for your contribution to making this world a better place.
Well, thank you so much for having me and for your kind words. I definitely feel like blushing right now. But seriously, thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you.
As I said, I encourage anyone who is interested in getting involved with 1 in 68 or who is interested in our programs, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any and all questions that you may have.
Excellent. Well, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to have you pick a winner.
Okay.
So you're gonna pick a number. Give me a few seconds to see what the number is. It's going to be 1 in something. I'm waiting. Okay. Give me just a second. Okay. Number from 1 to 34, Hallie.
I'll go with 28.
Okay. 28. Drum roll. And this is for the book. This is the book. Here we go. All right. Kathy Hagerman Carroll. Thank you. You're our lucky winner tonight. Kathy, if you can please message me your address, I will make sure that Hallie gets that, and we will get that book over to you. And thank you for being part of the discussion. And thank you for everyone tonight who contributed all your wonderful questions and comments and made a lively dialogue. Thank you for choosing to spend your evening with us and for learning more about 1 in 68 and being part of our discussion tonight. So I encourage everyone now to go forward and help build inclusion in this world.
Use your voices.
That's right. Use your voices. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much again. This is such a pleasure. Thank you, Haley.
Bye.
Bye.